It is The Flow Friday night sports show, repeated 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I tell you what, it's a huge weekend for the girls in the AFLW, Flow, man. Those Crows girls. You see, you've got your...
Yes.
We've talked about the jumper already.
The men's jumper on.
That's
yes,
right.
The girls' ones are a little bit more petite around the waist. And as you know, I've been to a few bakeries in my travels.
Not good. I had to sew two together. But that's a topic for another day. Carl Carrington is our guru when it comes to AFLW and W League. We're also going to talk AFL Fantasy with him. Carl, how are you?
Very good, Jace. Wayne, pleasure to join you, boys.
It is, and I'm going to say this is the last round of home and away AFLW, the round 9. And what about what we've got dealt up here in the Premiership Stakes here, Carl Carrington? This is going to be a beauty. Collingwood play Adelaide. It's Collingwood and Adelaide playing for second place on the ladder, and in effect, whoever gets second place gets straight into a preliminary final, and that is the quickest way home to the Grandie.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's a massive game, the Crows versus Collingwood this week. Game of the round easily, and the way that the Crows come into this game after thumping Western Bulldogs, they'll be real favourites coming into this one, hopefully against the Pies.
Not only that, you get a home preliminary final, and I think that is super duper important. So the home preliminary final is what it's all about. Top and second will get that, Crows and Collingwood. But I don't think it's match of the round, boys.
No,
I don't think it's match of the round at all. I think the match of the round will be played on Saturday at 4:40 p.m. when the Gold Coast Suns take on Geelong. Neither side have won a game. They're playing off for the wooden spoon, the first bit of silverware in the AFLW season.
Yeah, a bit of pride on the line here for the Gold Coast and Geelong. But yeah, I'll have to disagree with that, Jason, as the Crows very much against Collingwood is the match of the round for me.
Well,
yeah, I think you might be onto something there, Jace. But North Melbourne and Carlton also are the other two sides for 6th place on the ladder, albeit I think it's a done deal already.
Well, Carlton could possibly snatch that if results go their way. So North Melbourne and Fremantle. North Melbourne currently in 6th spot on the ladder, and if you have a look at where Fremantle sit, they can also pinch that double chance. But I think they would need the Crows to win and keep the percentage close, and then they'd have to beat North Melbourne by plenty and leapfrog everyone.
Yeah.
So that's still possible as well. They've got plenty to play for. So have North Melbourne. That should be a beauty. But Carlton, they'd have to win by plenty when they play GWS to be any sort of finals chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, North Melbourne are coming up against Fremantle, who sit 4th. So there's plenty of opportunities for Fremantle to really dominate against North Melbourne because they've been the superior side throughout this year. But for Carlton, it's looking unlikely that they'll play finals, unfortunately.
Yes,
Melbourne could pinch a home semi-final if other results go their way and they have a win over the top of the ladder, Brisbane Lions. And let's not forget, Brisbane have not penciled in their preliminary final spot just yet. So they need to either win or at least stay very, very close. Even though they're on top of the ladder at the moment, their percentage is not that much greater than that of Collingwood's. So Melbourne there's a lot to play for in those games. I love the final round matchups.
If my calculations are correct, which they may not be, but I'm going to guess anyway, the Crows and Collingwood could finish in that top 2 spots, even if Brisbane have a really poor defeat to Melbourne. So there's still opportunity for both Crows and Collingwood to finish 1 and 2.
Yeah, so come on, Daisy Pearce, get those Melbourne girls out there and start belting those Brisbane girls as hard as you can so that we can get primed and ready for the big Grandie. Now, what about in the women's the W League? Let's get to some results there because it has been a fascinating season so far. The girls from Adelaide have shocked everybody by being right up in finals contention. How are things looking this week, Carl?
Yeah, really good. As you mentioned, Adelaide United, they're storming home, really beating Western Sydney 3-1 last week. Melbourne City beat Perth Glory 2-1. Canberra beat Newcastle 1-0, and Melbourne City beat Perth 1-0. So just having a look at the ladder, Adelaide United sit in 3rd, and they well and truly should play finals this year.
Yeah, they should. They could finish even higher, really. The Raw are level on points with them, only goal difference separating them. And Sydney are within striking distance, Flowman.
Yeah, they are. And Canberra and Melbourne are the two informed sides right now. Canberra on a 3-win winning streak. And then if you look at Melbourne, they've had 1 draw in their last 5 games. So they've won the other 4. So those two, Melbourne Victory and Canberra United, are making a late run. The rest of them, I reckon, from 6 down, is forget the rest because the top 5 look pretty set in this competition.
They do, and we are not long removed from the end of that season. So we'll follow it with you, Carl. Before we let you go, because we've got to get moving, but we have to talk AFL fantasy. Now, How did your fantasy team go last week?
Yeah, I went all right. I ended up with a overall rank of 19,000. So I was just under 1,900 points overall. Which I'm a little bit disappointed with. I had a few flops in the midfield, especially with Raul and etc. But yeah, 19,000 to kick off round one. There's plenty of work to do, I guess.
Yeah, I want to just ask the question here on the fantasy. You actually are in this too, but I want to know. And look, you can stick that thing up in front of me on that computer screen. I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Yep.
I do see the positions on the football field, and there are 18 out there. But I'm going to say this: are you in front of the great stat man? This is the key question. The rest of it doesn't matter to me. I want to see the points. Are you out in front of him?
I'll just show you here, Wayne. I've got a 19,000 overall rank. If you look on Jason's screen, there's 48,000. So yes. I'm roughly 20,000 spots higher. But much can change, I suppose.
I was so glad you fell for that because we're one game into round two at this point. If you listen to the replay, 2 games in. My ranking at the end of round one, if we just go back to the end of round one, might have been slightly higher than that of Carl Carrington.
Oh, no. He's punching the table here, everybody. Gee, I've got the Crows jumper on too. We're getting a bit excited in here in the studio. So, oh dear, it's all about.
Didn't have many players played last night.
I'm going to ask you a question, Carl Carrington. You love this fantasy game so much. If they introduced it into the AFLW, would you join the AFLW fantasy competition?
Well, Flowman, you already know that I follow the AFLW closely, very closely. So there's all the more reason to watch the AFLW if they introduced it into that competition.
Good to hear. Carl Carrington, all the more reason to watch the ladies' football competition. I reckon that says it all, doesn't it?
Carl, can I ask you about your trades this week?
Yep.
I had a couple of forced ones. We'll talk about them in a moment. But who did you trade in and out of your team and why?
Well, unfortunately, again, and I'm very sad about this. With Matt Rao going down with injury once more, he had to leave my side, and I picked up Jai Caldwell, who's the new recruit at Essendon.
Yes.
He left GWS for some more opportunity, so he's really thriving in that forward line. And then I've replaced... who did I replace? I replaced Patrick Dangerfield. Yeah, who was involved in that concussion with Jake Kelly. He went out of my side, and I've picked up Tom Mitchell, who's a ball magnet for the Hawks.
I had a bit of a problem with my team. I had 3 people. Luke McDonald, of course, was my player of difference, and if you play the game, Flowman, you'll understand POD means player of difference, and that's someone who isn't picked up by many teams, but still scores all right. Obviously, that's ideal world. Yep. Unfortunately, he's not playing. He got ruled out on a game day match fitness test, which I wasn't aware of. So, and now apparently he's out for the next 2 games. So, I had Patrick Dangerfield rubbed out for 3, Luke McDonald out for the next 3. And then, of course, we had Matt Rao, who's going to be out for half the season. So,
and I think many of the listeners that play AFL Fantasy out there, which I hope you do, listeners, they'll be in the same sort of boat because they're forced trades, basically. You can't have Patrick Dangerfield on your pine for 3 weeks. It's just a waste of a spot. And then also Matt Rao, which many people would have started with, he has to go as well, unfortunately.
Tell you what, the coaches would be liking to force a few trades in AFL the way that they've been talking this week. So maybe you're forcing a few trades too, Carl Carrington. Could be a good coach here in the AFLW, particularly if they bring a fantasy thing, and then I reckon he's our man to give us commentary on that. No doubt about it.
No doubt. As we wrap up, I'll let you know my trades. Mine was Patrick Dangerfield out. Jaden Stevenson
had a very good round one for North Melbourne.
122 points, very well under. Yep, that's right. Very underpriced, playing in the midfield at the moment with an undermanned North Melbourne midfield, so he should score well again. One of those undermanned midfielders that isn't there, Luke McDonald, he's come out as the other trader.
This one intrigues me, Jason.
Yep, and I've gone to Callum Mills. Again, it was a player of difference. Mills has been picked up by a few, but not anywhere near as many as some of the other stars. And I think he's going to score well against the Crows this week.
Yes, well, as long as he doesn't score as many, and as long as Buddy doesn't score too well against the Crows, and the Crows get home.
I was just about to mention him. Buddy is a very interesting one. He's priced at around $390K, and he's got his first game coming up, obviously, after a long injury layoff. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes. If he kicks a bag, his price will inflate, and many people might jump on board.
They will indeed. The Swans have the other must-have player in the competition at the moment, Errol Goulden, who scored 108 on debut last week, and his price went up by $55,000, I think. So he's the man you must have. If you haven't got him in your fantasy team, move heaven and earth to get him in there, I think. Carl, that's the message?
Yeah, absolutely. He's the rookie to get, absolutely.
All right. Anything else for us?
Well, just happy fantasy this weekend for all those listeners out there that play, and I just want to mention my point of difference that I didn't get to was Tim Kelly, the West Coast mid.
Okay.
He sort of found his way into my side late on Friday evening before lockout, and he's going to be in there for the rest of the year, I believe.
All right. Well, good luck with your fantasy team, Carl. I'm sure it'll go well, and I hope you get to chase me down at some point. Anyway, thanks for popping in for a chat. We'll catch up with you again down the traps. Thanks for being with us throughout the summer here on the Flow Friday Night Sports Show.
Thank you, fellas.